Good day, everyone. I would like to present my most recent research on switching languages for political fear, power, and anger in digitally surveillance multilingual Facebook interaction in Indonesia. Expression of fear, power, and anger are usually done in private, but sometimes it's also done in public. But when the expression is done online in public, there is a danger of violating the rule governed by uh, Information Act, first number 27.3, first 28.2, where digital misconduct are stated that you cannot insult persons, you cannot destroy one's reputation, you cannot produce hate speech, you cannot incite interethnic or interreligion tension. And due to this act, according to Refli Harun, 63% of Indonesians facing their public fear for these legal traps. So they don't want to produce digital misconduct. Um, but digital misconduct is not really rare. It's common, and there are reasons why these misconducts happened. There is a false sense of security due to anonymity. Then because we can go anonymous in digital communication, and people start producing uh, digital misconduct there, especially when the sense of uh, freedom of speech on digital communication is very high, then people tend to fall into the trap of the misconduct. There is also a sense of being unmonitored when you involve in digital communication, and this sense of unmonitored nature of the conduct, I mean the communication, then people tend to express themselves freely. And a recent study by Al Natur found out that digital misconduct is not just because of this false sense, but rather become the habit of a particular group, especially a racist group, that hating each other is a part of their norms. Then in Indonesian cases, it's not really rare. There are a number of cases of arrest or due to digital misconduct. For example, by Hanura politicians insulting Papuan human rights activists. But also, Manokwarians were arrested due to racist expression in Facebook against Papuans. And the latest survey between 2012 to 2020, in Indonesia, 369 cases of violation has been found. And Facebook has been listed at the top as the site where these misconducts are uh, practices. Actually, there are ways in which the misconduct can be hidden. Number one is by the use of alphanumeric letters or numbers in expressions. But there are contexts in which hiding the message has been practiced actually. For example, in child-adult play, in network steganography, where information is hidden from view of non-members of the network. But there is also a practice of hiding messages in bilingual children communication, and hiding information is also essential practices in businesses where the business secret cannot be said with non-members of the business network. Then the question, it's an important one to ask: how do Indonesian netizens express political fear, express political power, express political anger without falling into the trap of the misconduct? And this is the focus of the study. We use net framework produced by John Gampers and Delheims in the choices of language in public communication, but we also follow the work of TAG 2015 and the work of Herring, Stein, and Virtanen 2013 for digital online communication framework. And we found out that digital online communication is just like face to face offline communication because contextual factors, situational factors, and dimensions in group interaction are in action there. And there are contextual factors, situational factors, and dimensions of internal group dimension uh, uh, controlling the behavior of members of the group. We studied four groups of tadpoles, the government supporters, and we also studied four groups of foxes or the government opposition from January 2020 to August 2021. And then we observed the communications on the Facebook. And these are the names of the Facebook groups that we follow. Um, we took 20 members of the tadpoles and 20 members of the foxes, and we observed or we focused on members of the groups with Samawa background, Bima background, and Sasak background, so we can understand the languages that they use in the interaction. Data collection was rather manual, where we use screenshotting, copying and pasting or typing FA messages in Excel files. We tried to use Atlas, we tried to use web crawler, but for digital reasons, Facebook did not allow us to get into the system using robotic applications. So we use just the manual netnography. Data analysis was done by content and netnographic analysis of communication. These are what we found. We found that fear of political fear was very much expressed by the foxes, while power was very much exercised by the tadpoles, and anger was also by the foxes. And in the expression of fear, the Foxes use Bahasa Indonesia, especially when they support the government's claim. But when they say things against the government, they use the local languages. The Foxes express power, over the government, over the tadpoles as well, and they use local languages for that. While the tadpoles exercise power over the Foxes by using Bahasa Indonesia, the national language, but also by using English. But when they use English, they use to tease out the Foxes or the opposition, for example, to discourage them from spreading negative information, or to discourage them from spreading hoaxes. Expression of anger is done by the tadpoles in Bahasa Indonesia, but the foxes express anger in the local languages. We could go a little bit detail here how the foxes, the tadpoles express fear and anger as well as power. Let's see how the uh, foxes express fear. Sorry, expression of fear in by the foxes. But number one is by using the local language, and the local language here is used Sasak language. For example, Noir is not real name. We have changed the name. Onya onya tebaum laun anak masim kode tati. So in this setting, in this context, Harry, as a pseudonym, was saying something very strongly to the government, against the government, about management of COVID. And then he could risk being arrested because of what he said in Bahasa Indonesia. And Anwar Noir was reminding him in Sasak language, Onya, Onya, Tabaw Mlaun, be careful, they will arrest you later, okay? Anak masih kode tati. So your children are still too young, my little brother. Okay, so Noir here is trying to remind Harry to be careful in whatever he said, so expression of fear. And then Harry responded to the reminder, saying that ulit lamun ya kayun pemerintah ja ndak tebani ngelawan. So whatever the government is saying, I couldn't be brave enough to fight against. Ya atong diri jo Pak Narco. If I have done that, I will just take myself to the local police boss, which is Pak Narco here. That's an example of expression of fear. But expression of fear is also done in Bahasa Indonesia. For example, here expression of fear to COVID and COVID issues. Anak-anak kecil bisa positif gila juga nih. Gejalanya apa nih? Ada yang fatal enggak? Etc. So expression of fear of mother from COVID to their children going to school. So they express that in Bahasa Indonesia, it's in Indonesian. But here, Yosi Hamada down there is exercise power by using Indonesian to the spreader of this information. So exercise of power is mostly done by the tadpoles. They use national language, and the foxes by use of local languages. We just see examples here. Exercise of power in Indonesian language this is done by the tadpoles. Bukankah yang setan yang kayak itu the gerombolan pret, etc. So it's exercising power. Patih exercising power over the tadpoles. Oh, sorry, of the foxes. Exercise power in local language it was done by the foxes, and in this case they use bahasa Bima here. I'm toim coba, so please don't lie. And actually, Mas Day here is saying something to Miftah, but actually he was not talking to Miftah. He was talking to the president. I'm toim coba, so I expect you not to lie. And Miftah responded to Mas D saying, coba menjadi bagian dari Pak D. Coba is lying, is not just lying, it's stronger than lying, so it's very strong lie, and then it's because of Pak D. Pak D is someone. Okay, so then, this is an example of exercise of power. Exercise of power in English as well. Bad news is good income. When it become was, we don't care the reality and the empathy. Exercise of power by the tech foxes to the the minister control managing the spread of the virus. And in this case, Mr. Luhut bin Sarpanjaitan, but he was jokingly here. Wong Wangi here was jokingly criticizing the government. So nice job, GMM. So I've changed the name there. Exercise of anger, but in support of the government and its supporters. It's expressed in the national language. Anger against the government and supporters. They use the local languages. Here's the experiences of anger in bahasa Indonesia. Tangkap ini yang membuat berita. So it's an example there. Expression of anger in local languages. Anger to the President Jokowi mesan rungu kobit kanca luhut Pak Presiden. Pak Presiden. So he's saying that the Jokowi get benefit of the COVID and Pak Luhut as well got the benefit, etc. Then there's an expression of anger there. So in conclusion, fear of the virus is constructed in Bahasa Indonesia. Fear to the government and its agencies is created in local languages. Government supporters that polls exercise power and anger over the non-government supporters in Bahasa Indonesia and to a certain extent in English. Non-government supporters, the Foxes, express anger and exercise power over the government and its supporters in local languages. In conclusion, language as linguistic resources in communities have here been selected as strategic means of exercising political standpoints. Thank you very much.